Hello, everyone. This is Shalita, the nonprofit Easter O'Neill, and I am super excited to invite you to and welcome you to the Seed Your Nonprofit for Success webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to help who I like to call nonprofit visionaries who are looking to build their organizations and raise funds in a more efficient way. My goal is to show you how to position yourself to become a $1 million organization in under a year. A lot of times as nonprofit visionaries, the first thing we think about is, okay, one, we want to do our mission. We want to make a difference in our community, but then the next thing is, okay, well, we need money to do that because we aren't necessarily set up to continually come out of our own pockets to make things happen. So then it's like, what next? We go straight to the raising money. And we get a little frazzled and, we got to reach out to our networks. We're not quite sure how to do that or the best way to go about doing it. But today I'm going to back you up a little bit and make sure that you have all your bases covered in order to position yourself for the support, the types of support that you're going to need. And then we're also going to talk about, okay, well then how, once you get yourself set up, what are some ways that you can raise the funds, that you can engage people into your organization? Now, people will ask me, well, what is my experience with nonprofits and how can I help and why, what is my purpose? What do I want to achieve here? For me, I have been running organizations, developing programming for almost 15 years. I started my own nonprofit about 10 years ago, and the purpose was to help young people aging out of the foster care system. And I raised millions of dollars for my organization. I made some mistakes. I learned from those mistakes. I received a lot of support, executive coaching, leadership training, and was able to sit around the table and be active with large foundations and other large community organizations that were making a significant difference in the community. So I learned a lot. My goal is to help those nonprofit visionaries that are grassroots who feel like, okay, there is something in the community that they want to change, they want to contribute in some way, but they are doubting themselves. They're not quite sure where to start. They're not quite sure how to start. They get discouraged when they see larger organizations getting the support that they really need. Sometimes the organizations, the grassroots organizations are on a shoestring budget, pulling stuff together, trying to make ends meet. And they are the ones, the champions in the communities that are really doing the work, but aren't getting the support. So for me, I want to use all of the knowledge, the experience, the expertise, the resources that I receive that help me to raise millions of dollars for my organization. I want to use that information to help others who are trying to do the same and to help you overcome and avoid some of the barriers that I experienced while I was going through my journey, because I started my nonprofit. I was 25 years old. I was just out of foster care, not too many years after foster care. I just aged out and did not know anybody, or I was not known in my field, in the nonprofit field, and child welfare was not known. I was really relying on my networks in order to help guide me. All I knew was I had a passion to change things for young people aging out of the foster care system, and I didn't care what nobody was going to tell me. I was going to make it happen. So if I could do it, and I was 25 years old, fresh out of foster care, then you can do it. And you may have already started your organization. You may be older than 25. Your organization may have been around for a little bit, but it may need to be revitalized. You may need to tweak some things. Maybe some things got a little stale. And now you're looking for some inspiration and you're looking to restore hope, where you're in the right place, because this webinar is also good for you as well. So how about we go ahead and get started? I'm going to talk about your story. Who are you and why are you doing this? Okay. So it's important for us to start from a personal place, because that's where everything is pouring out of. Our drive and our passion and our vision is coming from our personal place internally. And so we need to know, well, what is our story? Let's really take a look at, why are we starting a nonprofit, and making sure that it is the right thing for us to do, and it is the right time for us to do it. Create a fundraising tribe. What do I mean by that? I mean your board of directors, your volunteers. You cannot do this work and should not do this work by yourself. We're going to talk about how to help you get a tribe in place to support you. You want to look like $1 million organization. Yes, you may be on a shoestring budget, but we're going to show you, and I'm going to give you some information and some resources that I use in order to make sure that my branding and my messaging come across the way that I'd like it to, and in a way that makes it look like I've been around for a very long time and I'm just getting started, right? So your relationship with money, we want to talk about that, because your personal relationship with money and your personal thoughts around money will influence how you attract money for your organization. Art of resource development. Resource development is an art. I want you all to know that. It is not just about grant writing. That is a piece of it, but it's a lot bigger than that. It's about building, maintaining, and growing relationships. We're going to talk about that. Tapping into your social networks. I know a lot of my nonprofit visionaries will say, well, I don't have that big of a social network. I don't have any, my friends, my family don't support me. Listen, you have a social network, no matter how small you think it is. We're going to talk about how do you tap into that to get the support you need for your organization. All right. So the beginning, your story. Okay. I also want to let you all know that as we're going through this, after each section, I will pause and look at the chat box. If you have any questions, please make sure you put it in the chat box and I will address them there. The beginning, your story. So when I first started my organization, it came from a very personal place. I was in the foster care system and I wanted to improve things. I realized that once young people aged out of foster care, there wasn't really much of a support system there for them. And I wanted to do something about it. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I wanted to do something about it. I also, I tapped into my networks, my mentors, people along the way who have been of a support to me, that have been in that field for a long time, that could guide me. But I was mainly fueled by my personal experience with foster care and my personal drive to want to improve things for young people who were there. As far as my development was concerned, as I told you all, I had just aged out of foster care. I was trying to figure out how to make it on my own. It was a lot going on there. And as I look back, I'm like, whoo, the Creator must have really been watching over me, because my life was in turmoil at that point. What I want you to understand is that donors and investors, they fund people, not organizations. So you need to make sure that you position yourself to be the leader that people want to invest in. A lot of folks will say, I want to be a nonprofit visionary. I want to start this organization and I want to do this, because you're coming from a place of passion, but you have to turn that passion into something that is tangible and that people can get behind, and that people want to follow you. Okay. So first, what is your online presence? Do you post, how are you posting on your social media? What do people know you for on your social media pages? And I know people will say, well, that's my personal social media, and I say what I want to say, how I want to say it. And that's fine. But understand that people do judge, and people do look at what you post and how you post, and to determine how they will engage with you. So again, before we even start talking about building your nonprofit or putting your nonprofit out there, be aware of how you personally are presenting out there in the world, whether it's online, when you're meeting people, interacting with folks. Make sure that you have your brand together and that your messaging is consistent with what you want people to look at your organization as. Because again, no matter what you start, a for-profit, nonprofit, program, whatever it is, people are going to look at you, and people are going to determine whether or not they are going to follow or support your organization based off of what you stand for. Also, what's your reputation in the community? Are you sitting around the table or round table talks when they're having convenings around in your field around the issue that you care about. Do funders know who you are? Do some of the community partners or organizations who are making a difference in your community really, do they know who you are? Make sure you pay attention to your reputation in the community. And how do you do that? Okay, are you a part of any boards or any of those committees like I just said? Make it a point to go out of your way to join a board that's in an area or in the field that you're interested in, because not only will it create a presence or a network or connection that you'll be able to have with other people in the community, but it will also help you to see what to expect when it comes to building your own board. And I sit on a number of boards, and many of them are large organizations and large boards. And I get an opportunity to say, oh, okay, well, that's how the executive committee works. Or, oh, okay, this is how the board meeting is supposed to run. Or these are the materials that are supposed to be provided. This is the order of business. So, I've been over the years been able to take little things back to my organizations to be like, okay, this is something that I can do. Committees as well, because a lot of the funders, the people that you're going to want to reach out to, or people who know them, are sitting on committees. So make sure that you join those committees and that you are an active and vocal voice in the community. Is your personal life in order? Okay, listen, so I don't mean to get all personal or tell you how to live your life. That is not the purpose of me bringing that up. What I'm saying is that sometimes we lack self-care. We don't take care of ourselves. We talk about nonprofit visionaries and everything that I go over with you now and forevermore will be coming from a place of love and coming from a place of I've been there. I'm talking to myself, preaching to myself. Is your personal life in order? Make sure that you take time out to really unpack and analyze how you feel about yourself, how you feel about what you're going to be doing with this organization. Make sure that you take the time to try to be as balanced as you can. There is no such thing as true balance. And I say that because if you have a lot of turmoil in your personal life, it is going to spill over into your nonprofit. It's going to spill over into everything, your professional life, regardless of whether it's a nonprofit, for-profit. Make sure that you have self-care, you have balance in place so that it doesn't negatively affect your nonprofit organization. Because then, the inconsistency piece can really hurt you. You let the world know that, hey, I have this organization, and then you fall off the face of the earth, and you've engaged people want to get involved, and then because of things that are going on that are unchecked, personally, your nonprofit vision suffers for that. So let's try to, take care of yourself and analyze, why do you really want to start a nonprofit organization? Again, we are trying to heal from trauma ourselves, whether it's a personal trauma or something personally that you have experienced and has led and inspired you to start a nonprofit, or whether it's someone who you are connected to, who you care a lot about, and you're starting an organization to help them or people like them. Make sure that you're starting it for the right reason, because there's work that's going to need to go into this. And if you have to, at the same time, do some healing work as you are out here trying to heal the world, make sure that you're aware of that. Do not be in denial about that. That is okay. We are all human. And sometimes, though, we will try to pour our energy into something else in order to distract ourselves from what the work that really needs to happen internally. Don't use your nonprofit as a way to distract yourself from what the healing that has to take place within you. Because again, I'm talking to you from, I've been there. It's a work in progress as you process the things that have happened to you, analyze the things that have happened to you and how they manifest in your life. Trust me, I'm coming from a place of I'm there with you. I understand. And I'm just giving you a heads up because I want you to be successful. I want your nonprofit to be successful. I don't want anything to hinder that. All right. So do we have any questions so far? Please make sure you put it in in the chat box. Okay, if you have any questions, I don't see any questions as of now. So we'll keep on going. We'll keep on going, but if you look below, you'll see that there's a little box that says chat. You can click on that if you want to ask me any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. All right, so let's keep it moving. Create a fundraising tribe. Yes, yes. This is about your board of directors. Y'all, you cannot start a nonprofit without the proper supports around you. Now, don't get me wrong. When we all start our organizations, we need that those 3 to 5 individuals. And sometimes they are placeholders, or they may just be people, colleagues, friends that have agreed to support us. But we really need to make sure that we are putting effort and thought into how we build our fundraising tribe. If you don't have a strong board of directors, you're going to end up carrying all of the responsibility for the organization on your shoulders. And trust me, you will find yourself becoming bitter and resentful, and you won't get anything done. And guess what? You're going to say, that's it. I'm done. I quit. And you let your organization fall by the wayside at the detriment of those people who are waiting for you to make your vision real. We need to engage and recruit the right people to become your tribe, working alongside of you to move your organization's mission forward. So how do we do that? Well, hey, you come to the right place. Building a strong board. Determine what you're looking for in a board member. What are the skills that you need? What are the characteristics that you're looking for? Sometimes we go out here, we get so happy that people are excited or interested about our organization. We don't vet them. We just say, hey, okay, well, come on, let's get started. No, you want to make sure that you assess what is it that your organization is trying to do? What is the culture that you're trying to create? And what are the types of people that will help you create that culture? What are the skills that you're going to need to have on your board? And yes, not all, and we'll get to that later, not all services will be free. But of course, when you're building your tribe, when you're building your board, you want to make sure that your board members have some standard or basics skill set. So for example, you're going to want to look for someone who's an accountant, or who's an attorney, who is a PR communications person, branding specialist, to be on your board. Someone who is experienced in program development or organizational development or running programs, because again, at the very basic level, those are the types of things that your organization is going to be involved in. So you may have an organization that is geared towards children. So maybe, you want to make sure that, okay, your board likes kids, that they have skills in the areas, and maybe in education, or, that they've interacted with children, that they know pretty much, what it means to create programming or create resources for kids. You want to make sure that the environment, the culture that you create is one of that's welcoming, that's friendly, that's warm, all of those things, right? Because you're working with children. You also want to make sure, okay, well, these types of people, you want to make sure you got your background checks, your clearances, things like that. So just an example, make sure that you have the basic skills represented and talents on your board, but that you also are being thoughtful around what else do you need that's specific to your field, or specific to your organization, and the characteristics of folks that you also want on your board. What kind of group are you trying to create? Be mindful of those things. Be mindful that you have to embody the value you are looking for in a board member. Like attracts like. And I know you may have heard that before. We hear that all the time. We say, whatever. It applies to everything, everybody. If you want board members that have strong values and integrity and loyalty, who are consistent, who are going to follow through, who are professional, if you want those things, you have to be those things. And not saying that we want our board to look exactly alike. No, you want board members that are going to tell you, okay, well, I don't agree with you, or I have a difference of opinion, that are bringing a different perspective to the work. You don't want yes people on your board, because, as much as good as it may sound, when it's time to get things done, or when it's time to help you avoid any barriers that may come up, that is not good for you. So make sure that you are who you want on your board. Okay, would you want you on your board? Okay. Also, let people know you're looking for board members. I know it sounds basic and simple, but sometimes we think it in our minds, oh, I want some board members, I need some help. But have you announced it on your social media pages and been consistent about it? Is it on your website? Can people actually, when we go to prepare for board members, can people actually go to your website and look there, and is there a drop down menu that says board members, or an application for people to actually sign up as a board member expectations? Is there information on your website as well that says, okay, this is what our organization is about, this is the type of board member that we're looking for, these are the things that we expect? Do you have those up front? Because if you don't have them, you're not clear on your expectations, you're going to be disappointed later on when your board is not performing the way that you want them to. I know when I first started, I had some friends and they were amazing. They loved me and they had a general love for the work, but it was my vision, not theirs. And I didn't know what to expect of them. I was like, okay, we can file this paperwork and we're going to help some foster kids. And as time went on and I had to do events and things, and I started to see, okay, well, I was pretty much doing things by myself for a minute. And that's because it wasn't fair to them, to be upset or to be resentful, because they just thought, oh, okay, well, I believe in what you're doing and I'm going to be on the board. But I didn't ask them any specific things or give them any specific expectations. So don't be like that. Make sure they know what you want from them. Okay. Next, maintain your board. It's not enough to engage board members and, you got them all excited and they're all vetted and they're all decorated and connected, and then they don't hear from you. You don't want a board that just looks good. You want a board that's going to work, and you can't expect them to work if you don't loop them in on everything. And I do mean everything. If you're making decisions about fundraisers or, programming that you want to change or people you want to hire, you need to make sure you reach out to them and let them know what's going on and engage them to support you, to give them an opportunity to support you. You want to meet consistently. Most boards, they meet quarterly. Some, depending on if you're just starting up, you might want to meet every other month just so you get a handle on things, but make sure you meet consistently and there's a way for your board members to get in contact with you and vice versa when you need something in between those board meetings. Also, quarterly board trainings and ongoing board development. Your board is not going to be experts in every single thing. And they're also, more likely than not, they're going to be just getting to know each other. So you also want to make sure you create an atmosphere where there's development, there's team building there. If everybody is not comfortable with fundraising, you bring in a fundraising consultant or you bring a branding expert in to meet with your board. Make sure you're constantly also developing them, just like you when you're at work, because some of us, we're not doing our nonprofits full time. We still have a career, right? And your career, you expect to have opportunities to build yourself up or leadership opportunities or, to keep yourself fresh. Same thing with your board. Make sure that you make a plan for that. Encourage board member accountability. So annual board member assessments. Yes, I know this is the stuff that's like blah, 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 because at the end of the day, you're probably like, I just want to do this work. And all this stuff about it sounds like another job. Well, in and of itself, maintaining and developing your board is a responsibility. It can be a whole nother separate job, but my thing is to help simplify it for you. So you start thinking about some things ahead of time to make it easier for you. So annual board member assessments. Remember when I said you need to have expectations for your board up front? And so, whether that's a one-pager along with the application and say, bam, we expect you to donate about $1,000 a year or whatever your expectations are. There should be a fundraising expectation. Let's just put that in there. But make sure that you're clear about your expectations, because that's what you're going to use to hold your board members accountable. How many meetings have they come to? Have they missed all the meetings that you had in the year? Have they been attending any of the events that you've been putting on? Those are the types of things that you can keep track of so that the board, if it needs to, make a decision to get rid of a board or remove a board member or whatever, or give them accolades for all the great work they've done, you have a mechanism to do that. Let me just put this in their disclaimer. You are not the one to hold the board accountable through these measures. Okay. That leads into understand your role as executive director. Okay, y'all, listen, don't get upset now. Okay, just hear me out. As the founder of a nonprofit organization, the executive director, you do not run the organization. The board does. They have legal responsibility for the governance of your board in your organization and you. Okay, so not only are you bringing them on and putting a mechanism in place for them to be assessed, they have to assess each other, whether it's the executive committee takes that responsibility to, or the board development committee that takes the responsibility of holding the board accountable for what they said they were going to do. They're also going to do the same thing for you. As an executive director, you should be having performance evaluations every year. They need to be letting you know what kind of job that you're doing and if there's any place that you need to improve. Now, there are ways and strategies that you can employ to make sure this process goes as seamless, and painless as possible. And we could talk about those offline if you reach out to me one-on-one. But ultimately, overall, understand what your role is to run the organization. It's not to, you don't control the board. Ultimately, yes. Ultimately, if they decide that you are no longer good for the organization, they can remove you. Yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. That can happen. So, but also make sure you visit your bylaws often. So there's a way to write yourself into your bylaws that as a voting member of the board, there's a way to do that. Again, we can talk offline about that. I do have templates that have that language in it, but your bylaws are meant to be, they're like your religious text, okay, for the organization. You refer to it when you're lost, when you don't know what's going on, you need some encouragement. You open up your bylaws. It's not just a piece of paper that you put together and add to your filing documents. That is where you're going to go when you need feedback on the voting process of your board members, removing your board members, the diversity or the makeup of your board. All of that is going to be in your bylaws. The committees will be in your bylaws. The responsibilities of the directors of your board or the officers of your board are in your bylaws. Visit your bylaws often, and don't worry if you need to change them. You can do that. The board will need to do that together, but you can always update your bylaws, and you should do so as the times change. All right, keep it fresh. Keep it fresh. Do not have people on your board, one person on your board for 30 years. Yes, I've known organizations that have done that have never changed board members. If you want your organization to constantly have new and fresh ideas, new and fresh talent, make sure that term limits are enforced. And one way to do that is through your bylaws. Your term limits should be listed in your bylaws. You may ask, well, what are some general term limits? Well, it's up to you, but I've seen as far as officers of the board, some organizations will have them have 1-year term limits with the option to renew at the end of that year, or 3-year term limits for officers of the board and board members at large as well. So, it's really up to you, but I would say no more. You don't want people on there no more than doing, 1 or 2 consecutive, maybe 3-year, terms. And when I say consecutive, okay, after the first 3 years, it's up for renewal. So they have to be reelected. It's not a automatic thing that happens. And also I would say to make sure you stagger it so that everybody isn't rolling off your board at the same time, because then the institutional knowledge of the board will be lost and you got to start all over. No, you want to stagger it so that some people transition off. You got new people coming on. So keep that in mind as well. Also know that you can invite non-board members to participate in board committees. So you're going to run into people who are like, I'm not down for that legal responsibility of being a board member, but hey, I'm good at fundraising, or I'm good at event organizing or event planning, and I want to be on your event planning committee. You can do that. Everyone who's on the individual board committees do not have to be board members. I do suggest that the chair of those committees are board members, but you can recruit as many people as you want to be a part of the individual group committee or the board committees, and they don't have to be board members. Okay? All right. So that's that one. Let me check the chat box now. Let me check the chat box. I got something. Oh, here we go. Okay. As a nonprofit, can you have just an advisory board? Is this done? Can the executive director retain control? And I'm sorry to tell you, but you can't just have an advisory board. You have to have, especially when you file your paperwork, and it says, depending on the state you're in, 3 to 5 board members, and that expectation means they are legally responsible for your organization. You can also have an advisory board in addition to your board, where maybe people, sometimes it's honorary board members, or high profile individuals who don't have a lot of time, but they might want to still contribute to your organization when they can, or you just need to check in with them to get their advice. You can have they don't have legal responsibility over the organization, but they can be an advisory board. But you need your board of directors. It can't just be an advisory board. I know, I'm sorry. When it comes to retaining control, I'm with y'all as a recovering control freak. But there are ways, again, how you develop your relationships with your board members, and the interaction or the involvement that you have with new people coming on the board, and the say that you have can determine, ultimately, as the founder, and it's your vision, you will have that respect. People aren't going to be trying to come into the organization just to kick you out of it, because the people coming in are going to respect you, respect your vision, and know that, hey, they can't lead this organization the way that you can, right? They're not even in it to try to do that. But ultimately, if it is a situation down the line as you grow and you have all this board that most of the people you didn't even bring on, and like I said, we could talk about that offline, but yes, that's that situation. Okay. I hope I answered that question for you. Moving on to look like $1 million org. So, okay. First impressions are everything. Just because you're on a shoestring budget, it doesn't mean you have to look like it. I said that earlier. I am known for having marketing materials and promotional materials that look like I've been around for 15 years and look like I have a whole big old budget, and I do not. So I'll tell you a little bit about how to create a caviar experience on a tuna fish budget. Yes, I like tuna fish better anyway, but it's okay. So first, your brand. Have you had a branding professional look at your website, your logo, your business cards? I am a huge stickler for this, y'all. It is all about the brand. It's all about your messaging. If you get what you pay for, right? You get what you invest in. If you are getting your website done by somebody else, and then a logo done by somebody else, and then your business cards done by somebody else, and then the logos aren't, the color. I mean, listen. You have to make sure that the message that you're putting out there to the world is one that will make people want to be associated with you. A lot of times when we don't put work into this and we just say, hey, this is my organization, I want some support, the people who are closest to us, they'll maybe give us a few dollars, or give us some encouragement, but they're not going to be embarrassed. They're not going to embarrass themselves and then share us with their networks when we're not ready. You want to make sure you have a product, you have a brand, you have a message that people are proud to share and say, I am involved with this organization. So make sure you have a brand, someone who does it for a living, right? Or hasn't either gone to school for it, does it for a living, to look at your work and your message and your brand, your messaging and your brand overall, and give you constructive feedback. Okay. Do you have social media pages for your organization set up? It's not enough for you to have a personal Facebook page. You need to have a page for your organization, Instagram for your organization, Twitter for your organization, and make sure that you're posting consistently to it. It matters. Everybody's on social media. And if you want to engage people and you're like, okay, I want to make $1 million. I want all this money. I want these funders to give me this check. And then they go online, they try to find you and they can't find you. LinkedIn. Do you have a LinkedIn profile? Are you posting there? The types of people that you are going to need to be able to be on your board or to volunteer or get you connected to money, they're on LinkedIn. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, make sure you set one up and make sure that your organization is listed on there as well. Also, grammatical errors in your content, whether that's your website, whether that's on your business cards, your promotional materials. I can't tell you how many times I have looked at someone's website or their one pager, and right away, it's not even small grammatical errors. It's just as if you didn't have somebody else read over the content. So make sure that at the very basic level, the information that you're putting out there is grammatically correct. And I do have a branding professional that I will recommend. So I'll make sure that I give you her information. There's actually a couple that I have. I'll make sure you guys get that information before we end the webinar, and I'll put it in the chat box as well. So are you practicing what you're preaching? Okay, hear me out, because I love you. Listen, if you're going to have an organization that's talking about self-care and you don't take care of yourself, it's not going to work. Okay, people are not going to buy it. If you are talking about being healthy and working out, and I'm here to make sure that people in the community know the good foods to eat and stay healthy, and you are not healthy and you are not working out, it is not going to work. So please practice what you preach. Okay, walk the talk the walk, because otherwise you can have the prettiest branding materials, and then when people see you or notice you, right? Because again, people don't fund your organization or don't support your organization. They are supporting you. And then they see you and they see, okay, well, she's not that serious about it. She don't really care that much about it because she's not living it. Then they're not going to support you, okay? Now, here are some of the resources that I use. I'm giving y'all secrets. Come on, screenshot it, write it down. So Vengage, and they're inexpensive or free. Vengage is a resource that I use when I need to create infographics, or it does a lot of things. It's not just infographics. It's flyers, brochures, and they have lots and lots of templates, so you don't have to create it from scratch. And I think the free level of subscription, you get 4 or 5 free templates. You can create 4 or 5 free templates a month. And then if you want to pay monthly to get more than that, I think it's not more than maybe about $19 a month or something like that. So Vengage.com, Adobe Spark, so spark.adobe.com, and you can, again, Google it, pop that in there, and it will come up. As far as the memes, they also have templates for all different kinds of memes. They have it where you can change the layouts, you can change the different sizes of your meme depending on what social media outlet that you are posting to. So that, you can tailor it to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. You can also do short videos. So some of the videos that you may have seen on my website, I use Adobe Spark to create those as well. Meet Edgar is the really weird little name, but when I tell you about social media and making sure that you're consistently posting, I love Meet Edgar because it allows you to upload content that you want to be displayed across different social media platforms. So if you have a Facebook, a Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, it allows you to be able to upload the content you want, and it recycles the content and posts them across your social media platforms. And you get to have a calendar. You can create a calendar on the days of the week you want it to post and all of that. So it looks like you're constantly posting and things like that, and you're not. But I would also say, we don't want it to be completely automated. Keep an eye out, of course, when people are responding to the post, that you are interacting with them there in the comment section. But as far as it posting for you, it does it for you. And that way that helps with that consistency piece. And it's about $49 a month, which is very reasonable for what it does. Also, Hootsuite does something similar, but it doesn't post in the same way as far as recycling content. You have to upload the content that you want, consistently to Hootsuite. But I think the difference is with that is Instagram, because I believe with Meet Edgar, there's an issue with posting to Instagram, but Hootsuite will allow you to also post to Instagram on a schedule, and also Facebook as well. But again, the difference is it doesn't recycle content like Meet Edgar. You have to upload and, do that piecemeal. Also, Prezi, this presentation that I'm giving to you, I created in Prezi.com. I love it better than PowerPoint. And again, it's reasonable. I think for the year, it's $60. And it has all these great interactive templates that you can use depending on what you want to present and want to share. So those are just a couple of my main resources that I use to look like we having some caviar, okay, on a tuna fish budget. So I hope you find those helpful and let me know how they work out for you. Any questions from there before we move on to understanding your relationship with money? Okay, we're leading up to, I'm getting you ready for the real deal, okay? We got to get ready. We have to be ready to receive our abundance, okay? So I'm glad you like it. Yes, I'm just getting started. Okay, so understand your relationship with money. Listen, y'all. Okay, again, hashtag nonprofit no filter. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to tell you some things that people didn't tell me that I had to figure out later. I don't want these things and these issues to get in the way of what you're trying to do nonprofit wise. Nonprofit does not mean free everything. Okay. If you are always broke, you bring that mentality to everything you do. And if you operate from a place of lack, not enough money, not enough resources, you are not going to attract the funds to your organization that you need. Your personal relationship with money will determine your professional relationship with it. And again, this is something I wish, as I could go back to my 25-year-old self that started that organization, I would have told her this and said, listen, honey bunny, I know you might be running from some things. You're trying to figure some things out. But the way, the mentality, that lack mentality, that typically nonprofit visionaries, right? We don't typically come from rich households, okay? And if you do, then good for you. But typically, from what I've seen, we are coming from a place of some traumatic things have happened. Traumatic things happen to everyone, let's be clear about that. But the reason why we are fueled to do this work is because something happened to us in one way, shape, or form. And we are not necessarily coming from a rich, affluent, wealth-minded background that will help tell us some of these things. So sometimes we start a nonprofit and we yield to what other people say and say, oh, well, nonprofit, you're not supposed to make no money. You're supposed to be pouring from an empty cup. Everybody got to give you everything for free. Don't invest in yourself because you don't have no money for that. These are the types of things and messages that we get that are toxic. Okay, so let's shift our perspective. It is normal to invest in consultants of all kinds. I was blessed to be able to have capacity building consultants, executive coaching that helped me one-on-one when I was building my organization to be a better leader. I had consultants come in as they were board development, board trainers. They helped me train my board. I had consultants that came in to help me with my logic models. I had consultants of all kinds. And sometimes in our mind, we're like, oh, we can get that for free. Oh, I know my cousin does this and that. I think he drew a couple things. I'm going to get him come and do a logo for me. Okay, you get what you pay for. So as you're building your budget, and we'll talk about that, make sure that you put a line item in there for consultants, because you don't need to know how to do everything. Okay, do not stress yourself out thinking we got to know it all. You're already wearing enough hats. Reach out to people who know what you don't and pay them, because it will be a return on investment if you do it right. I promise you. Not everything's going to be free. A nonprofit is a business. Okay, run it like a business. It is not. That's not a dirty word. People say nonprofits, oh, free. No, it's not no business. No, you're not supposed to make a profit. No. Listen, it is a business. The only difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit is the tax standing, right? And there's a little couple of small things as far as funding and all that. But what it's considered by the government and the tax standing, that's the difference as far as how you run your organization. These large nonprofit organizations that you see that have millions and millions of dollars, and they out here all over the world and doing great things, they run it like a business. It's tight ship. Okay, they keep good records. And let me tell you, it's okay to have more than what you need. And what I mean by that is people will say, oh, you're supposed to break completely even at the end of the year. You're supposed to be starting at zero. You're not supposed to have anything else. You got to beg all over again next year. Do not believe that either, because these large organizations have investments. They have CDs. They have they have what they call operating reserves, which means they have money for a rainy day set to the side. And there's ways that they build that up during the year. But trust me, successful nonprofit $1 million organizations are not starting from scratch every year raising millions of dollars. Believe me, I remember when my organization trying to every year trying to get funds lined up for the next year. My blood pressure was a little high. So trust me, these larger organizations, they are not starting from zero. They have more than what they need to run their programs for the year, and that is okay. So let's get out of that lack mindset when we're talking about nonprofits. Next, prepare for your financial abundance. You want to raise $1 million. You're not prepared though. Do you have a budget? Do you know how much money you need in order to run your programming? Do you know how many staff members you're going to need in order to execute the work? Do you know that the staff that you're going to need to maybe help you maintain relationships with these funders? Develop a budget, because when you start reaching out to folks and they asking you, where's my money going? And you can't, to help the children. Okay, no, that's not enough. I need to know, if I give you $1,000, that's going to house a young person for 2 months. Or if I give you $1,000, that's going to feed 10 kittens. Or, and you don't know that until you develop a budget. And again, if you don't have one and you need some support around that, let's talk offline. I can help you develop a budget. Make sure you have separate bank accounts. Okay, let's say you already have a budget, or you've already started your organization. You need to have separate bank accounts from your personal and your nonprofit and your business. And I know that's like a duh, but not necessarily, not for everybody. People think if it's a small organization, and people will understand if oops, my PayPal is linked, my nonprofit PayPal is linked to my personal account. Please don't do that. Okay, we are starting now. If you want to be $1 million organization, you have to build it on a foundation of integrity and trust and credibility. And that way, and one of the ways to do that is making sure that your money is separate, from anything, your nonprofit money and your bank accounts and your books. That's the next thing. Your books are flawless. So whether that's hiring a bookkeeper, or if you have, a treasurer on your board who is an accountant, or they don't necessarily have to be an accountant, they could just have a lot of experience in keeping books. Make sure that, in QuickBooks or something like that, you keep track of your finances specifically for your nonprofit organization, because I guarantee you bring in $150,000 grant, that funder is going to want to see your financials, your profit and loss, your balance sheet. They're going to want to know specifically how you use that $150,000. Break it down to the penny. So you want to make sure you keep your accounts and your stuff in place and clean. File your compliance paperwork every year. Okay, if you can't be $1 million organization if you get revoked because you didn't file your 990s, or you didn't do that personal property tax form for the state that you have to do every year, whether you own any property or not, and it's free for nonprofits. So make sure you stay in compliance. One of the ways to do that, there's plenty of pro bono attorney or firms, law firms that will be more than happy to help you either complete your paperwork, without charging you a fee to make sure that you stay compliant. Now, of course, the $9.90, depending on how big your organization is, you're going to need to pay a CPA in order to do that. But there's still people who might want to do a little bit of pro bono work. So don't get me wrong, free work is not out the question. Yes, we do want some free work, but understand everything will not be free. Okay, let's have a balance. Make it easy for people to donate. Do you have a donate button on your website? Is it easy to find, right? Do you have your PayPal account set up? So if somebody wants to go ahead and send you some money, they can just go ahead and do that. Okay. Do you, again, making sure you have your bank account set up and your checks and all of that together. So if I want to give you $200,000, I'm not going to go through PayPal to do it. Okay. I need to know who to write the check out to, and it can't be to you personally. Okay. And it has to, your organization has to have its own separate bank account. So make it easy for me to give you money. And then keep track of those who donate and thank them properly. So sometimes, we put all the effort into getting the money, and then once we get the money, we like, whew, okay, that was great. Okay, it's over. No, you still have to make sure you thank them. Especially we're talking about $1 million here. Okay, this is the webinar. Okay, get you ready to be $1 million organization. Okay, when people that give you real money, you have to thank them properly. It's not just oh, thank you, send a little letter. Oh, thank you. No, you have to make sure that, maybe get a couple little promo items, little magnets, or, little pictures of the young people you work with, or little trinkets or something, and mail it to them, and, keep track of them. So everyone that's giving to your organization, whether it's a foundation or whether it's individuals, make sure that you are capturing their information, because you are going to be building a donor database. That is going to be your database for when things are coming up, or you're trying to raise funds, or, and also as it pertains to doing your tax documentation, you're going to need to keep track of who's been given to the organization. So make sure you have a mechanism to do that. There's so much software nowadays that you can use. Google or G Suite has a lot of different apps that you can use to capture, what is it called? Client relations management, or CRM databases that you can use. You can take your pick, but make sure you pick one, and you keep track of the money coming in, and you thank people properly. Okay, that's the end of that section. Do we have any questions about that? Any questions at all? Any questions about the budget? Any questions about the money piece? Okay, I don't see any there. Okay, so let's go ahead and move. The art of resource development. Raising funds and resources for your organization is an art. Okay, it's not just about writing grants. Okay, if you pay somebody to write you a federal grant and you've been around for less than a year, they got you. Okay, don't you're not gonna get a federal grant. And sometimes they say, at least, you have to be around for at least 3 years before you're even eligible to apply. Even then, the whole federal grant landscape is crazy. Okay, it's not impossible, but trust me, if you're just getting started, and if you don't have connections to the folks or people who have reviewed federal grants or know what that process looks like, then don't set yourself up. Your money is going to come from individuals. So it's all about developing, maintaining, and growing relationships. It's about people. There's no way around it. Sometimes we like people, sometimes we don't. But if you're going to run a nonprofit organization, you're going to have to learn how to build, develop, maintain, grow people. Okay? So let's explore some ways to find donors. Let's find where they're at, how to get them excited about your organization, and how to turn them into lifelong contributors. So finding donors. First and foremost, remember how I said your board members are the leaders, the heart, right, of the organization. You may be the brains, okay, and the vision. But as far as what moving work forward, as far as getting the resources that you need, start with them first. So if you've done the due diligence of vetting board members and making sure they have the talents and skills to be able to help build and run an organization such as yours, then they also better be connected and networked. So first and foremost, when you're trying to find donors, ask your board members, Who are they connected to? They might be connected. They may work for a corporation or organization that has matching program, have a small grant or corporate responsibility program. Start with your board members. Then also your family and friends, your colleagues, their networks. I know for me, I was growing up in foster care. I had family, cousins and stuff like that. But don't ask me to, if I asked them to donate something to my organization, that wasn't going to work. However, they are connected to different networks. And had I known what I know now, I would have went about it a little bit differently, because sometimes, what they say, a prophet is never honored in his own land. They see you as little tink, little cousin, this one or that, and that another. And so getting them to look at you through the eyes of a nonprofit executive is a little bit different. So as soon as you ask for money, they look at you sideways. But sometimes it's not about asking for money. It's about asking for access to their networks. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. Sign up for nonprofit newsletters. I get nonprofit quarterly almost every day. There's different types of newsletters that you can sign up that will let you know about, one, what's going on in the nonprofit world. Please, be connected to that. Know what's going on in your field, if it's mental health, or if it's foster care, or if it's human services, or if it's animal rights. Know what's going on in your field. Know who the key players are, because you're going to want to reach out to them. And those types of newsletters will help keep you in the know about who's got the big money and who is, given to who. Also, attend community galas. And I say that because, okay, I'm a big proponent of partnership, collaboration. You don't need to collaborate with everybody, but you need to collaborate and partner with somebody, and with organizations that line up with what you care about and what you're doing in your field. You cannot, just as I said, you can't run an organization without your board, and you shouldn't have to do it by yourself. It's the same thing as an organization. Find other organizations that are doing great things in the community that you can connect with. Go to their events. Yeah, pay for their fundraising ticket. Go ahead, come out your pocket. It's a return on investment, because when you go to their gala or their fundraising event, guess who's going to be there? Their funders. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to walk up to them, and you're going to be a bright, shining light with a beautiful smile, and you're going to say, oh, you know what? I read so much about you, and this is what I do. You have your 30-second pitch about your organization. You're going to get their card, and magic will happen after that, okay? So make sure that you are not only showing up to support other people in the community, because what I like to say, you get what you give. If you want support, give support. You'll go, you'll see, what they're doing, and take some tips on maybe what you can do with your organization's event coming up, and then you get access to their funders as well. Grant maker directories, there's plenty of them. I signed up for Grant Watch. I think it was like $40 a month. It's not the only one, but and I also, in my area in Baltimore, there's Associated Baltimore Area Grant Makers. They call them ABAG. So there's a directory that you can get of all of the organizations or foundations in Maryland. So invest in something like that as well. Also, if you currently have funders, ask them to connect you to other funders. Funders talk to each other. I can't tell you how many, and they also talk to grantees. So that's another thing as you're thinking about building your relationships, and when you're going to these galas and you're going to these events and you're showing your support for other organizations that are well connected, they get to know you, you get to know their funders. I guarantee you, when you submit a proposal or when you reach out to meet with that funder is going to contact their grantee and ask them about you. And if their grantee can't say anything about you, they don't know who you are, or worse, they have something negative to say about you, you will not get that grant. You will not get an opportunity to meet with that funder. So make sure you're aware of that. Funders talk to each other, and they talk to their grantees. Okay? Okay, so you're saying, well, okay, I know all that. Okay, well, how do I engage these people, these funders, to become $1 million organization? Now, we're talking about a couple different audiences here, right? So the first one, foundations and corporations. Please do your research. There's a resource that I use very often called guidestar.org. and they have a listing of all of or I'm going to say the majority of the nonprofit organizations that are established in this country. You can look them up there. You can even find out you can look at their 990s and see how much money they brought in, how much money they spent, who's on their board. If it's a foundation that gives out money, they also list their grantees. So some people may not list their grantees on their website, but on that 990, when they report to the IRS, they have to list who they gave money to and how much money they brought in and where the money came from. So do your due diligence when you are learning about different organizations that support organizations in your field. Okay, all right, well, this organization, I'm doing education, and this organization is one of the largest ones that give to education in my area. Let me look them up. Let me go on GuideStar and find out all the business because it's public. And that way it'll help also prepare you on how you reach out to them and what the expectation is when you do reach out to them. Then, so do your research first, find out how they want to be contacted, because not everybody wants to receive an unsolicited email. Not every foundation has email. Not everybody wants to be called. Some people want to receive an email. Some people don't want to, receive a call. Find out how they like to be contacted, and they will make that completely clear, especially in these the listings, the grant making listings. They will tell you not only what they're interested in, but also how they want to be contacted and whether or not they take unsolicited proposals. Now, just because they don't take unsolicited proposals doesn't mean you can't reach out to them. That doesn't mean they don't want to hear from you. It just means don't send me a proposal with all this information and I didn't ask for it if I didn't ask you for it. But you can email the director or grant manager, right, or program manager at the foundation and say, hey, I see that your organization is doing great work in education, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how I believe our missions line up. I would love an opportunity to meet with you to share more about what I'm doing and to hear more about what your interests are. Let me tell you a couple things. Initially, I used to think I was being a burden by calling foundations or the grant managers and requesting or emailing and requesting meetings with them. They want to hear from you. That's their job, number one, okay? Whether it's a small or a large organization, their job is to answer your questions, is to meet with you. Again, shift your perspective. It's not like they are doing you a favor. You are doing them a favor because they have money that they don't know how to spend. And they have causes that they care about, but they don't know anything about them. So they need you in order to carry out their life's mission, or the person who was really rich mission of of fixing things they broke, or just fixing the world around them and they maybe didn't get a chance to do while they were still alive. A lot of these large foundations that have deep pockets, and even some of the smaller ones. So you are doing them a favor. So let's come out of that, that meek, shy, I don't want to be a burden attitude. I don't like to ask for money. Ask for money. They have the money. They need you. You need them. So don't be afraid to do that. When you're talking about corporations have corporate responsibility departments, or, they have missions where they want their employees to get involved in the community. So with them, it's not only just about giving money. Sometimes with the foundations, they have a budget, they have funds to give out, and it's not 100% anywhere close that they would be sending people out to your event to help volunteer or anything like that. However, corporations, they really care about getting their employees involved and not just giving you money, but also providing you with the human support, the human capital that you're going to need to do some of the events. So I think it's a really good opportunity to engage corporations around, okay, you're having an event, or let's say, you have a housing program and you just renovated a house, or some things need some renovation, and maybe you reach out to a landscaping company or a property management company, and not only want to give you money to do a renovation, but they want to have their people come out and help you do it. So that's a way to also engage the corporations. You must diversify your income. You will not be $1 million organization getting money from one source, because the moment the economy crashes or the moment something happens and a funder decides they want to do something different, everything will come crashing down around you. So when I'm talking about funders, I'm talking about diversify your funds. Okay. Foundations, corporation dollars. Okay. Once you reach out and you email the grant manager or the community liaison, if it's, whatever the corporations call the community outreach person, once you reach out to them or email them, schedule an in-person meeting, if you don't hear back from them, follow up with a phone call. Don't be shy. Follow up. Persistence, what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Persistence is key. Keep up with them. And if you have a promotional packet, which I do advise you to get together when you talk to that branding person, it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of stuff. It could be your one pager that's branded with your logo. It tells them about your organization. It could also be a brochure that you have or that was developed that has real pictures of an event that you did. Your business card, if you have an annual report, depending on the size of your organization, if there is an article that was written about you or your organization, this is the time to big yourself up. If you've got awards or something like that, put it in your promo packet and send it to the foundation or the corporation, whoever you're trying to engage. Sometimes they'll get that and they'll be like, oh, okay, I want to meet with him or her. I'm gonna call him back. Okay, so those are just some ways. Let me know if you have any questions about that process and about we're talking about this is where you're going to get your millions. One of the ways, okay, one of the places you're going to get your millions. So if you don't understand something here, please just put the question in the chat box, and I will provide clarification. But foundations, corporations, that's the basics there. Now, individuals, let me tell you a little known fact that 76% of the funds that come into nonprofit organizations come from who? Individuals. It's not the foundations. It's not the corporations. It's people. It's individuals. When not too long ago, Planned Parenthood got into a situation where the feds were talking about wanting to cut their funding because of, controversy and things like that. And yeah, they lost some funding, probably temporarily, but guess what? It didn't fold them. It didn't close them down. You know why? Because of their individual donors stepped up to fill in the gap where the federal funding or other funding that was taken away or pulled lacked, they stepped in for. So that is a really important part. Your social media engagement, again, that's why everything, there's a method to my madness when I say making sure your social media and your public perception and your brand is airtight. It's because the majority of the people that will be given to your organization will be engaged through social media, will be engaged through your website, will be engaged through other people's networks, and then they're going to go and look at you to determine whether or not they want to get involved. And with those individuals, you want to make sure you invite them to a launch event if you haven't launched already. And launching is not a one-time thing. It's something that, we call it different things. Your first event could be a launch event where you invite people who you've engaged on social media or people who are interested in becoming board members to your event. It could also be, ongoing fundraiser, whatever you call it. People want to go to events and they want to go to fun events. Okay. So your individuals are going to be engaged through the social media engagement and inviting to your actual events. Now, the foundations, I'm just going to tell you that the funders, they don't typically come to your events, certain events, right? So if you're having, a Thanksgiving dinner for the kids you work with, your funder's not going to come. Okay. Because keep in mind, depending on how many other grantees they have and that they're responsible for, they're getting invitations to all different kinds of events. So if you're going to invite them to something that they're more than likely going to be interested in coming to. And that typically is events where they are being honored, right? And that takes us to keeping your funders. Find out their interests. These are people. I don't care if it's a foundation, right? A huge foundation, or a small family foundation, or an individual who just has deep pockets and wants to support you. They are human and they have interests. So, and attend their meetings. They may have, there was committees that I sat on in the city with foundations that cared about education, right? It was not a space to ask for money. It was a space to come around and talk about something that funders and the community cared about, right? But again, of course, you're not going to ask them for money in those meetings, but you build up credibility. They get to know you. You get to know what they care about. You start to build that relationship. So down the line, if you do want to apply for a grant, they'll know who you are. They'll have a face to a name. Events and join committees that they sit on. Again, be a part of what they care about. Find out their family life, right? I have funders, private foundation funders. The grantees, it's their family money, right? And the grant manager is a family member. And, they have a life too. They're people too. So it's not just about, can you give me some money? Thanks for the money. I'll talk to you when I need some more money. No. Okay. How are their kids doing? Their kids in college? Okay, how they doing in college? Oh, what's their names? Okay, what you up to? Okay, you going to yoga? All right, want to meet for lunch? You get, I'm being a little funny about it, but I'm serious. These are people. So make sure and it's a process. It's an investment, and it has to be authentic. I'm not telling you to be inauthentic, but these are things, it's about how you make people feel. Because again, they're not funding your organization. They are funding you. And if you're likable and your passion comes through in the work that you're doing, and they like you, right? Because it's an exchange of information. They're going to find out about your family too, that you've got kids or nieces and nephews, or you care about hiking, and they're going to find out these things about you too. And there's going to be a common thread or something that intrigues them, that says, wow, this is a really great person doing some great things in their community. So again, you keep them by finding out their interests and keeping them engaged around what they care about. You also keep them by keeping them updated consistently. Again, please don't take money and then don't follow up with them for months and months, and they don't know what in the world is going on with you, and then or you give them an annual report by the deadline, and then that's it. Don't do that, because I'm gonna tell you, when they have to come to a decision on if they have to cut a grantee or cut back on some funding, it's going to be from the people they haven't heard much from and who they don't really have a connection to. So keep them updated consistently on how their money is being spent. If you ask them for $500,000 to build a school or to build housing, then every step of the way, when the unveiling comes, or when you have an event where you're inviting the community in to see what you want to do, you invite them, or you send them pictures of the event and how great it was. When you do the unveiling, you invite them, you honor them, put their name on the wall, something like that. But you keep them updated. If you were mentioned in the newspaper, I don't care whether it's personally or whether it's about the organization, send them the articles, text them, hey, just want to give you this article, what I've been up to. Letters from your clients. If you're working with children, at-risk populations, they want to see pictures of work happening with them. They want to hear from them. Have your clients write them a letter. Thank you so much. Because of your support and this organization's support, I was able to avoid homelessness, or I was able to get back on my feet, blah, blah, blah. Or now in the days of technology, have them create a video and say, hey, I just want you to see this. I want you to know that what you did for me is priceless, and this is what it looks like. Okay? Spend time with them, follow up with them, lunches, happy hours. I know it's smoozing, whatever they call it. But you care about these people because they just gave you $500,000. They just gave you $100,000. They gave you $50,000. They care about you. They care about your mission. Make sure you reach out. Can I have lunch with you? Can I give you an update on something? And Sometimes they may say no, they don't have time to do it, but don't stop asking them. And again, invite them to your events and honor them. So one thing I found out, and here's another secret, okay, that I had to I found out the hard way, is I was getting a lot of accolades and awards and things like that, and I was very, very honored and flattered and everything like that. And not because I didn't earn them, because I did. But there's this thing where people will honor you and bring you to an event because they want access to your network. So if you ever notice, oh, okay, well, I'm getting honored as the go-getter of the century, and they're having a dinner, I get my ticket free, and then if I want to bring my husband, I got to pay for his, and anybody else, I got to pay for theirs. And then my organization need to pay for a spot in the program and say, oh, we're proud of Shalita. So listen, apparently this is a thing. So, people like to be honored, but people make fundraisers out of that, right? So high profile individuals, you honor them because you really do care about what they did and what their contributions are. And also you want them to invite their networks so that you have access to their networks, not just to the funding, but also to in-kind resources. So, hey, take a page out of their book. Okay. These other organizations do the same thing. Honor the people who contribute to you. And even if they haven't contributed to you, when you have your next brunch and breakfast and brunch, or brunch and love, or brunch and talk, whatever you call it, right? Your next launch event, make sure you highlight someone, you honor someone who's well known in the community, who will bring an audience, who will then, give you access to their networks. Okay. Don't tell nobody I told you. Shh, secret. Any questions? I'm looking at the chat. I don't see any questions about that. Okay. So now we're winding down here. We're winding down here. I wanted to tell you how to tap into your social network. Again, I know I said earlier, we say, well, we don't know that many people. We tried everything. No, you didn't. And yes, you do know people. And even if you know 5 people, those 5 people know 5 people, and their 5 people know 5 people, and those 5 people know 5 people. So no matter how small you think your network is, I guarantee you're underestimating their ability to help you raise millions of dollars. Why do you think network or word of mouth marketing is so effective? And so this one thing I want to let y'all in on that I've been working on is conceptualizing, right? Network marketing for nonprofits. And what we know about network marketing is, examples like Tracy Lynn, Mary Kay, Herbalife, the traveling company. There's different types of network marketing that are extremely successful. And what makes them so successful is that they are able to tap in to their social networks and the social networks of other people in a way that, in a structured way, right? Because we do this all the time where you say, okay, well, I just went to go see Avengers and that movie was awesome and you should go see it. And then, you tell 10 people and then 10 people go and they're like, yeah, you're right. It was awesome. And then they tell 10 people, or let's say Black Panther. Oh, yes. I mean, everybody was shouting from the mountaintops about Black Panther, and look at the success of that movie. And how much money did you get for referring folks to go see Black Panther? Nothing. Okay. Or how much money did you get? You say, girl, I went to Target and I got, I left out that place with like $200 worth of stuff. And look what I got. And I got this. And oh, you know what? I got to go to Target too. And then they go and they spend $500. And, you are always word of mouthing things, but we don't think anything of it. So one thing that network marketing companies have been able to do is understand just how deep that, or how much of a resource and how effective it is when you are deliberate about how you share the information about a product or a service and getting people's buy-in to help you spread the word. And that is what this model is about. It's about creating ambassadors for your nonprofit. It's different because when we talk about network marketing, we're talking about businesses and, corporations that make a profit for individual people. That's not what we're talking about here. You can't make a individual profit from a nonprofit. Now you can make a profit for your nonprofit in a way that you are being paid a salary that you can live on and that you're proud of, right? And that if you decide to leave that organization, whoever fills your position will be qualified because they'll be getting paid enough to do that. So let's be clear about that. You as an individual cannot benefit from the nonprofit funds. It's not like, or in that way, right? So it's not like you can pass your nonprofit down to your children. No. Okay, we're not talking about that. But in essence, you can still use or tweak the nonprofit marketing or network marketing model to a nonprofit because you still have to engage what we call ambassadors around your organization. And there's a way to do it. Your first ambassadors are your board members, the volunteers that you initially recruit around your organization to help you get the word out there about what you're doing and to help you build your networks. And so that will be your initial set of ambassadors. But then there's a way to prep your board members and an expectation around how they tap into their networks to bring more ambassadors to your nonprofit so that you get to a point where the majority of your funds are coming in from individuals that you probably don't even know, right? So same thing with network marketing, right? By the time the business owners tap into their networks and then tap into the networks and tap into the networks, then, there are people, when I talk about these ambassadors, it's much more than, or they have more leeway or more, you could be more creative with how they contribute to the organization rather than board members, because these ambassadors could be across the country. They don't have to be local. They could be international, right? There's this one organization that I saw called Girl Up, and I really like what they stand for, really about empowering young women internationally, right, in different countries. And the way that they have it is you can become an ambassador of theirs. You go to their website, they've got promotional materials on there, so you don't have to guess around what to say to people. They give you ideas and tips on fundraising for them, hosting events and things for them. And everything that you need is there on their website. And you could be in Dubai and raise money for them and have the messaging and everything that you need to tap into your own networks, granted that you care about their cause. And I really like, how they have that set up. So understand that your board is your first initial, your core ambassador group, and then you're tapping into their networks. They are also then recruiting additional ambassadors that may not be board members, or maybe down the line they might become board members. But initially the expectation is, hey, help me get the word out about my organization, help me raise funds for my organization, and this is how. Okay, so how do we do this? To me, what I've developed is there's 6 steps to building out your own network marketing for nonprofits model. The first one is prepare. Like I told you guys earlier, when you are wanting to engage and reach out to individuals in the community and persuade them and inspire them around your organization, you have to be prepared for when people respond. So make sure that your website is, you have your board member applications there, have an ambassador's application there. People who don't want to be board members, but they also want to volunteer or maybe want to raise money for your organization. Make sure that you're prepared for when those people say, hey, yeah, I want to be an ambassador. Okay, what do I do? How do I do that? That you are prepared to be able to help them with that. 2 is recruiting them, right? So you're ready and prepared, and or with the information on your website and information for people who, when you do reach out to them, when you go to these events, when you're on these committees, when your board is in these committee meetings or going about their daily life, a part of their groups and things that they're a part of, then that's where you're recruiting and engaging people around the process, around becoming an ambassador. You get them to come to an event. Your launch event. I know you've heard me talk about your launch event, and or whether it's a launch event or your initial event or a fundraising event that you're having, give them something to come to learn more about your organization and why they should become an ambassador for you and why they should raise money for you. And once you get them there, you sell them on your organization. And the way you do this is if you are a human services organization, and let's say you're working with kids or you're working with young adults who are homeless or whatever the case may be, you want to make sure you have a agenda where you have that person come up and talk about what's so great about your organization. You have the opportunity at that point to connect with people on an emotional level. Okay. You got the logical level together because now, you've told them about the organization and why what you're doing is so important. But the emotional part, you need to show them when at that event, whether it's a launch or a fundraiser, exactly why what you're doing is so important. Capture their information there. A lot of times we have these events and then people come and maybe they signed up on Eventbrite. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just showed up and they just walked in, like, no, it's not enough. You have to make sure that you are capturing their information because you're going to want to reach out to them. Or let's say, they want to become an ambassador, have an ambassador application there for them at the event, again, online, okay? But have a way to capture their information so that you can keep in contact with them. Then you educate and support them. So they say, okay, I want to be an ambassador for you. I love what you're doing. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have these chicken dinners every night, and I want to help you raise $1,000 for these, $1,000. I want to just contribute to your organization from something that I'm already doing. Okay, great. So you bring them in and tell them more about the ambassadors program, what the expectation is, what are they going to get out of it, what types of support that they're going to receive. Make sure that someone at your organization, or preferably a board member, is overseeing this ambassadors program. So as your ambassadors reach out or they have questions about things or need support about things, then they have someone to reach out to. Then cultivate them. Okay, so you're going to have ambassadors, you're going to have individuals who raise a lot of money for your organization. Again, just the same as any other funder, anyone else that does a lot for your organization. Make sure there's a way that you give them that extra attention, that high touch interaction, that you let them know that you're grateful, and that inspires them to do even more and to dig into their networks. Okay, does that make sense? Anybody have any questions about that process? We're talking about how do you harness your social network in a similar fashion of how network marketing works, where you ever been asked, I used to be an ACN. I used to be a Mary Kay consultant. I used to be a Tracy Lynn consultant, and it looks similar, right? Let me go to how it looks. The way they create strong ambassadors, and I'm going to go back to that previous slide, but first I want you to see this. The way they create strong ambassadors, or in their terms, independent business owners or business partners, first, they take the guesswork out of the process. So there's already materials, right, already developed that tell you more about their company and about how great they are. And they also have a software. So, once you sign up to become an ambassador or a business partner, you have access to your own back office, your dashboard, where you can keep track of the funds that you're raising or the services that you are selling. You have your welcome package. You got everything you need. There's no guesswork. You don't have to figure it out, right? You're clear about the organization's mission, their plan, their focus, what people are going to be supporting, what they're creating in the world by helping you. This is all part of the process. Your team immediately, when we say under you, right, when we're talking about network marketing, but really is your board is over you, but they have to be strong ambassadors for the organization, right? Not everybody can join. There's a criteria, there's an application process. You also have to have thorough and consistent training and support. These are things that make network marketing strong and successful is because people are cultivated through the process, whether it's monthly webinars, videos announcing or answering common questions. What you have to do and learn how to do is use your nonprofit story and how it propels you personally, right? First and foremost, because then your team, your ambassadors, the people that you're bringing around you that are going out here and raising funds for you on your behalf, they're going to share their own individual stories as well, right? On how they're connected to your organization. So there's an element of storytelling, a part of it as well. So a question is, do you give an ambassador a stipend? No, ma'am. Or yep, Nafisa, no, ma'am, you don't give them a stipend. This is volunteer. So it's just a way of organizing people who want to help you. So inevitably, you're going to have people that you meet along the way that are going to say either they want to be a board member or they can't be a board member, and they want to know how else they can help you. Some people, it's easier for them to do an event for you or do a series of events for you, and that's all that they are willing or able to contribute. This is what this network marketing model is really good for. These people want to help you. They don't want you to pay them back for anything. For instance, the way people do their now on Facebook, you can donate your birthday. A lot of people are starting to do that, and they've been doing that for a minute, but different places or different platforms are starting to catch on to that. And look, they're going to have a birthday anyway. They don't have a problem with asking their friends to donate $20, $25 or whatever the case may be to this cause because they're trying to raise funds. It's similar to that, right? But then this is about doing it in a way that is structured, because most times the way we have so many hats on, people say they want to do an event. Oh, great, do an event. Let me know when it's over. Send me the money, whatever. No, this is an organized, structured way of getting people to help you raise money for your organization, who that's all they want to do initially, right? And then once they learn more about your organization, then down the line, they might become a board member, right? Or they might then introduce you to the company they work for that has matching grants. You see what I'm saying? So ambassadors, you don't pay them anything. If we're looking at the green print, let me explain it a little bit further. I call it the green print because it's about money, green print, blueprint, get it? So the green print. So let's look at it, because I'm a visual person. We're talking about the board member right there in the center, or ambassador. But initially, like I just said, your board member is your board members will be your initial ambassadors, because there's an expectation, or should be an expectation, that they are going to be raising money for your organization. So your first set of ambassadors will be your board members. They should be your board members. So let's break it down. We're talking about millions of dollars, and people say that's a lot of money. How do I do that? That's $1 million. Oh my God. No, you break it down into smaller pieces. So you've got a board member who they themselves are required to give $1,000 to the organization out of their own pocket or from their networks, right, to help them raise $1,000. It's not a lot of money. It's a whole nother conversation. Some board members will tell you that they can't do it, but that's all right. There are board members out there that can. So they raise $1,000 for the organization. Then they go out and they engage 5 other ambassadors. Right? These people are not board members. Again, these people are people from their networks, the board members network, that wants to get involved. And because of how the board member speaks about your organization and represents your organization, they are willing to come to an event, right? So that event that your board member has, their goal is to raise $1,000. They invite a bunch of people. And let's just say they only get 5 people from that event that they held, that they raised $1,000 that said, hey, I want to have an event too. I want to contribute too to this organization. How do I do that? Okay, their board member tells them, well, this is how I did it. And, they go out and they have each of those 5 people, 5 ambassadors, they go out, they have their own event. They raise $1,000 for the organization. You get what I'm saying? And there's a way to keep track of these, the events that are happening. I suggest that there's peer-to-peer software where they have text to give, or they have it where you can also have peer-to-peer on it, where the board can have their own individual back offices. And I actually have a on the 27th of October, I'm going to have a seminar or a webinar called Network Marketing for Nonprofits that goes into even more deep detail, and gives templates and things like that that you can plug and play into to help you if you want to put something like this in place for your organization to organize your fundraising in this way. But there's a way to keep track of who's having events through using these peer-to-peer platforms and mobile platforms. Mobile Cause is one of them, but your organization decides which one you want to use. You plug your board members into it, and it's similar to crowdfunding, right? But people have a mechanism, a way to tap into their own networks to get them to give money for your organization in a way that's deliberate. It's not just haphazard. And everybody that's giving to your organization, you are collecting their contact information. You are pouring that into your donor database, again, because that's very important. And you have a whole network of people that you can reach out to for whatever you need. The foot in the door is that event, right? That first event that they have on your behalf. And you can put whatever numbers to this that you want. You want them, if you only think they're going to raise $500, or you reach out to an ambassador, or your board member has an ambassador that has an organ that works for a corporation that gives out $5,000 grants and will match it. It could go up from there. You get my gist? You get where I'm going with this? Be deliberate about your networks and how you give people the opportunity to contribute to what you're doing. Because this is what these larger organizations are doing, that they aren't necessarily communicating to the general public. They have a way of engaging people, keeping them engaged, and having them raise money on their behalf, so that if anything were to happen with those foundation dollars that I told you about, that maybe they dry up or their focus changes, they still have the majority of their funds coming in from individuals using a model that's similar to this one. Okay. Do we have any questions about that? If you look at this, let's crunch some numbers, because y'all know I'm not a mathematician, not a math major, but let's look at what I got here. Okay. So let's just say this is one board member. That one board member raises $1,000. Okay. That's $1,000 right there. They recruit, engage 5 other ambassadors. They also, each of them raise $1,000, right? Each. So right here, you got $6,000. We didn't even go down to the second level here. We got $6,000 just from your board member and from 5 people that your board member engaged who want to do something great for your organization. All right, that's $6,000. Let's say you have 6 board members. So $6,000 times 6 board members, that's $36,000 right there. Not even talking about when those ambassadors that your board member has recruited also invite 4 or 5 people to do the same thing. Then there's another level. You get what I'm saying? Why I'm trying to explain it into a way of, or liken it to network marketing, because that is really what this is, the structure or the model of it. The difference is, one, the people who are doing it are not doing it for a financial gain. Like, these business partners or ambassadors are not doing it because they're trying to become rich. They're doing it because they care about what your organization is doing and they want to contribute. And it's no sweat off their back to have a dinner and invite 50 people who are going to give $100 at that dinner, and then give that to your organization for your work. Okay? Okay. I hope that made sense. If not, again, in the chat box, put the question there, put your comment there, whatever you're thinking around this. Success is not a destination, okay? So we are thinking about becoming $1 million organizations, raising $1 million, and $1 million is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about these other organizations out here who are raising hundreds of millions of dollars. Why not you? Why can't you? Right? So this is the blueprint on how to actually get your organization to a place where you can receive that type of money and be ready for that. But then be very deliberate. These people do not raise millions of dollars by mistake. It is not haphazard. There is a strategy behind it. There is a model that they use. Now, whether you use this model or whether you use another model, you have to use something in order to be deliberate about how you engage people around your nonprofit organization, how you are asking them for money, how you are building relationships with them, maintaining those relationships, and moving them to want to engage their networks and introduce their networks to you. There is a process that you have to go through and that you have to be deliberate about in order to get this type of money and maintain this type of money. Once you get it, you've got to make sure you are keeping your books properly. You have to make sure you are reporting how things are happening properly. You have to make sure you're using it properly to do the work, right? So a lot of us would say, we want $1 million. You get $1 million and you're like, oh, I had these ideas about what I want to do. Okay, I want to have a fitness business, or I want to, I want to have a building, or but you haven't put the time into planning out what that looks like. So when somebody gives you a $500,000 check tomorrow, what are you going to do with it? Okay. You need to be able to answer that question, because when you can, that's when the money will come. Now that you know a little better, do a little better. Just do a little better. Because, I hope y'all not overwhelmed. It's going to be okay. It's really going to be okay. Organizations, nonprofit visionaries do this every single day. Okay, you look at some of the organizations, the breast cancer organizations, or the organizations that raise money for cancer, and you look at how much the executives are making and how much money that they're bringing in. Executives are getting paid $1 million a year. That's $1 million just going to one person. And I don't say that to say that the work isn't worth it or that the money isn't going to a good cause. I'm not saying it at all. I'm saying it to put it into perspective. There are organizations out here where $1 million is a drop in a bucket. It's a sneeze. It's a laugh, right? So if they can do it, you can do it. What I want you to work on, some of the action items, is I want you to build or clean up your personal brand. Your personal brand. We're recapping a little bit here. I'm trying to pull out some things that I think is important for you to get started on now before you attend the Network Marketing for Nonprofits webinar on October 27th. I hope you do that. I'll tell you more about it in a second. But first, build or clean up your personal brand. Make sure that here's some ways that helped me as it pertained to getting myself ready, or the things that I noticed that I did that helped me to be more marketable as an individual, as a leader, so that when I went into these rooms with these foundations and these funders, they took me seriously and they were intrigued, because again, they wanted to fund me. They wanted to help me. I could have had a nonprofit that made candy apples and set them away to sail at sea and lit them for a beautiful display of love. Whatever. They don't care. They cared about me and how I presented. So some things you can do: apply for leadership programs, especially, you're in your career. If you haven't done so already, if you are highly decorated and everything, please disregard this. But if you have a little bit of room, to improve, or to make yourself more competitive as it pertains to getting funding for your organization, then here are a couple things. Apply for some leadership programs and leverage, your employer, the career, your career path right now that you're in, your employer. Look, I'm sure they may have funds for leadership programs to pour into you. Make sure that you do that. I'm sorry. Let's go back there. Make sure that you do that. Make sure that you apply for fellowships, apply for awards, or get others to nominate you for awards. the 40 under 40s, the 20 under 20s. I know you've seen the Forbes 40 under 40 people, and like half the people ain't did nothing. Okay, I'm hating. But no, but I'm not. I'm being honest. Okay, look, that's because they know someone who knows Forbes or somebody who was a previous honoree of a 40 under 40, and they recommended this person and they got in. Okay, and now they're being recognized. So don't get caught up in the hype. It's just like Facebook. People gonna post their successes, not their failures. They're not gonna give you the whole story. The same thing, but use it to your advantage. Find someone who was a 40 under 40 for Forbes or whoever it was, and I'm sure you're connected to, and say, hey, how do I get nominated for that? Nominate yourself for it. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Come on, big yourself up, build yourself up, get executive coaching. Okay. You can get that sponsored. If you currently running your organization, you've been running your organization for a minute, we all need a little support, a little dusting off, a little, okay, get some executive coaching. And foundations, there are foundations out there who will give you capacity building dollars to do that. Apply to present at conferences. Okay, even get past that fear of public speaking. If you're going to be an expert in your field, if you're going to be out here providing services in your field, make sure that people see you as an expert or see you as a resource, and you have to put yourself out there and apply to present at conferences. They don't come looking for you. You have to go looking for the opportunities. Again, check your social media presence. Make sure that you have a LinkedIn profile. Make sure that you have profiles for your nonprofit organization and that you keep them updated regularly. Put yourself out there, right? Also, consider writing an op-ed in your local paper on a topic that means something to you, that might be connected to your nonprofit, might not be connected to your nonprofit. Just, reach out, write an op-ed, write to the editor. This is my opinion about this topic. And that can be something that you use when you're reaching out to organizations to let them know about who you are, so they can put some respect on your name. Okay. Also, contact your local TV stations to see how to be featured on their show. This is really easy. Okay. It just take a little time, take a moment, make some calls to your local television station and let them know about your nonprofit. They want you to come in. They want to feature you. All right. So those are just some ways that, I think, some things that I've done, some things that other people have done, that I've written that down, okay, to be able to help you to build your personal brand. And regardless of what you do, that is going to follow you, whether you want to start a nonprofit, a for-profit, or you decide you start a nonprofit today and start another one in 10 years, whatever, what's the constant, you are the constant. So make sure that you're straight. Build a strong board, okay? If you don't already have one, please make sure that the different strategies that we talked about earlier, that you start putting those into place. You start putting expectations into place for vetting board members. What are your expectations? Can they go to your website and sign up or get more information on becoming a board member? If not, make sure that they can. All right, build your board. Also, build or clean up your organization's brand, and make sure you engage a branding professional to help review your messaging. Do not be ashamed. You are not supposed to be everything and all things and know everything. Everyone does not have an eye for branding, for design, for things like that. It is okay. Okay, listen, I have an eye for branding, but there's other things I do not have an eye for. And I will reach out to people to help me with that. It is all right. But I want you to get started on, if you don't have those social media pages for your organization, get them up. If you have them up, clean them up. Make sure you're putting effort. Use one of the resources, the software that I mentioned earlier, that Meet Edgar, to help you post. There are also others. So, other pieces of software resources you can use, but just however you do it, just do it. Improve your personal relationship with money. We're talking about raising $1 million. Y'all want to know how to get $1 million, but I don't think everybody is ready to truly receive $1 million until you put the things into place that we talked about today. One of those big things is making sure you are straight financially and are comfortable financially before you start trying to figure out how to do that for a nonprofit. Engage a financial advisor. I have one. He's awesome. He's through Prudential, but there's millions of different financial advisors. He helped get me all the way together on my priorities. And so in that way, it helped open my eyes on what is possible for my nonprofit. Y'all know that large nonprofits actually have insurance policies on their executive directors. Did you know that? And ain't nothing wrong with that either, because if something were to happen to their nonprofit, they would be able to have funds to pay to replace them. And that's common business practice for large nonprofit organizations. Again, once you start venturing out into that world of $1 million or organization, that's when you start having $1 million conversations, and there's things that you have to shift, perspectives that you have to shift and become aware of so that you can operate in that space. Okay. And needing a strong board, it is okay. And I'll tell you, because that was we've got in the chat box. Don't feel ashamed that your board is not where you want it to be. It is more normal and common than you think, but it's because most people do not do the things that we went over today in the webinar as it pertains to preparing for board members, recruiting board members, maintaining board members. Those things aren't typically done. But now that you know how to do them, now that you have the information, use the information in order to build a strong board. Another question is it okay to have multiple streams of income while you're building your nonprofit, or is it good to be known for just one thing? No. You are more complex than that. So now, as it pertains to your nonprofit, now your nonprofit should be known for one thing and your mission and the work that you're doing. But you as a brand, right? You may be an author. You may have another business. There are entrepreneurs that also have nonprofits. And maybe down the line, you might want to consider a hybrid organization depending on if it's related, right? The for-profit mission is related to the nonprofit mission. If not, it doesn't have to be, but there's nothing wrong with having multiple streams of income. I am a nonprofit development coach. I have a career in foster youth development. What else do? I do a lot. I have a foundation. So nowadays trying to bring in just one stream of income for you personally doesn't necessarily work. It's okay. And what's really great about it as well is when your personal brand is strong, or when people start with their personal brand first and they build up that network. So that could be, okay, I'm an author, or, I'm a coach and I've got my LLC and I'm traveling, I'm consulting, and, whatever the case may be. And I have a network from there. Once I start doing foundation work, or people want to know, well, what's that? It makes it easier for me to spread the word and get people engaged around my foundation, because I'm also well known for my LLC. So I would, we are dynamos, y'all. It's okay. It's okay. Just take care of yourself in the process, please. Self-care, because we don't want to burn out. Okay. So next steps. Enroll in the Network Marketing for Nonprofits webinar. I just told you guys that that's going to be Saturday, October 27th from 1 to 3 p.m. And here, we're going to go. I'm going to assume that I'm giving you time to implement the things that we've talked about here, because it's going to take some time. If you need one-on-one support, let me know, shalitaoneal.com, or just send me an email and we'll get that on the calendar. To do some one-on-one to help walk you through some of these things that we just talked about today, if you need support with that. But I'm going to give you time to put these things in place, because on October 27th, when we start talking about getting to down to the nitty-gritty of the Network Marketing for Nonprofits model, this is where we're going to talk. I'm going to assume all these other things are in place, and we're going to start talking about, well, okay, here are the templates the ambassador descriptions. Here is the software that you can use. Here is the strategy. Here is how we're going to start reaching out to people. Here is what the event needs to look like. Here is what needs to happen in the event. Here is how the plan to maintain or build the partnerships of the people that you engage. We're going to delve deep about how to then build out, and I want you to come prepared with your budget, how much money you actually want to raise. And then we're going to talk about a plan on how to do that, because I'm about action. I'm not about hypotheticals. Okay. So I hope you can make that. If you can, because you attended this webinar, you will be, here's a promotion. So Seed It is the promo code, SEEDIT, all one word, X or capital letters. So Seed It when you register for the network marketing for nonprofits webinar. And that actually, instead of $80, because it's, listen, y'all, I'm trying to price point things that it's reasonable. But I'm telling you, the information that I'm giving you is a steal. If you implement it and you do what you're supposed to do with it, look, I'm telling you, you're going to be like, Shalita, oh my God, you just gave it away for free. Yeah, because I want you to be successful, okay? But at the same token, it takes effort to put these things together. So support me so I can support you. But that webinar is $80, but because you were on this call, you get a 30% promo, which brings it to be about $56. Not a big deal, okay? So you could go on the website now if you wanted to register for that now. Go ahead and register your seat, reserve your seat, so we can go ahead and get into that. Or if you want to also do a one-on-one with me to talk about what that could look like for you, how we're going to prepare for that, I would love to be able to do that. We'll work out something as well. Okay? All right, y'all, listen to me now. I'm listening to y'all. Any last questions? Because you have my attention. Okay, any questions about what we just talked about, or anything I need to go a little bit deeper into that you didn't quite understand? Let me give you. So donations from Facebook. Give me a little bit more. What about it? How do they happen? How do they work? Or I know that my foundation, the newer one that I just launched, oh yeah, so with Facebook, okay, so the question was, yes, you do have to have your 501c3 status in order to be able to give people the option to donate to your organization through Facebook. Okay, so you need to be listed, and it's something cool, because I guess they have a partnership somehow where they are they know the listing of approved nonprofit organizations, and you can look it up and they have access to that. But yeah, you have to be a 501c3 first. And my experience has been with Network for Good is who they partner with in order to accept the donations. If you don't have an account with Network for Good, it will take, I think they said 45 to 60 days before you are even able to get those donations. So it might be worth, if you are a 501c3, it might be worth go ahead and getting an account with Network for Good so you can get your money quicker. Or, I just have people go through my website. And if you're not a 501c3 and you're trying to accept donations, you just have to be very clear that it is not tax deductible. People will, you got people who will still give anyway, but it may influence how much they actually give, because people aren't going to be giving you thousands of dollars if they don't get a tax write-off for it. But people will still give, but you just have to let them know that you don't have your 501c3 status as of yet. So how did you communicate contribution expectations from board members without sounding demanding in the bylaws or in meetings? People know they should, but how do you push without being pushy? So my answer to that is, with your board member expectations, that's an actual document. I have a template for that. like that when you are engaging people around your organization, it's a list of expectations. One of them is your fundraising expectation, along with everything else. And it's really about messaging, because almost everybody is nervous about fundraising. We do it all the time. Everybody fundraises, and they fundraise for other people. It's just they get nervous when it comes to fundraising for themselves or fundraising for people they care about, because then they think it's a whole nother process when it really isn't. So it's just about your messaging. You make it clear and stand firm that, listen, if you can go to Starbucks 5 days a week and spend $10 a day at Starbucks and spend $50 a week, you can put aside $50 a month for my organization, right? Or $100 a month that way for my organization. By the end of the month, you done already met your quota for the contribution. I think it's also just being clear and letting people know, putting it in that type of perspective, and people are like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I did spend about $100 on stuff I didn't, on paper towels in Walmart. And oh, yeah, I do care about the kids. So breaking it down like that, or also making it clear that it doesn't have to come out of their own pocket. If you use the network marketing for nonprofits sort of model or approach, it could be coming from their networks. They can get somebody else to raise the money on your behalf, or hook you up with a funder. So if even that, breaking it down into a way to help remind them of how it's going to help the organization doesn't work, they don't need to be on your board, point blank. There are people out there who will raise money for you. Also, okay, I'm nonprofit approved by the states, but I'm still waiting for my 501c3 status. Can I give them a letter saying it's retroactive? So what I would suggest that you do is reach out to an attorney, a nonprofit attorney, to specifically ask the loopholes with that. Because I don't want to give you any wrong information as far as retroactive, because typically if you filed your 501c3 status, it can be, you let people know that it can be retroactive if your application is approved. So we're assuming, unless it's something, a crazy red flag that hops out on your application, the IRS is going to approve it. However, you don't want to make those type of statements if you don't have the confirmation, the 100% confirmation from IRS that you have been approved. So just say it may be retroactive. I filed my paperwork, and typically it is retroactive from the date that you filed your paperwork. While you're trying to get your 501c3 status, there's other ways that you can make a donation attractive, right? So it may not be, they can't get tax deduction, or may not be able to get a tax deduction, but it might be something else you might be able to offer, or that might be even better, or okay, at our next event, we're going to honor you, or, we have, something, that they might want. A lot of times people just want to support you and your organization. They really just want to help people. And if you can make a compelling enough, reason for that, and say, listen, I don't have my 501c3 right now. I'm waiting on it, but your funds will help me to house 3 young people, keep them off the streets. I'm just making that up, but you tailor it to what you actually do. But when you talk like that to people, that's what they care about, not about that tax deduction. Because I'm telling you, if they give you $500, y'all know how taxes work. They give you $500, and your tax write-off, you probably claim $2 up. You get $2 back. It's not a big deal. Not until you start talking about thousands and thousands of dollars that people actually really care about, the tax deduction. But yeah. Okay. Okay, so when applying for state tax exemption letter, a list of revenue and expenses are required. We are only a year old. What amount is reasonable for expenses when the donations came only to $1,500? So that's something that maybe we can talk about offline. If you want to schedule a time 101 to talk about that, because it depends, right, on what they're asking for, because typically they just want projections. And a lot of times with the nonprofit, visionaries, we get caught up and we get a little nervous because we think that, they're going to hold us to everything. A lot of it is projections. You don't really know what the budget is going to look like, or what you want to put forth what you're trying to raise. You don't know exactly how much you're going to. And, so really it's just a projection. So if they're asking you for a list of revenue and expenses, just write exactly what you have. If you raised $1,500 and you spent $1,500 on supplies, then just give them that. I guarantee you that they take into consideration that you're only a year old and that you're not a psychic as far as projections of your budget. Did that answer your question? Great. Yeah, and it's the same with budget too. Like like, how am I supposed to give you a 3-year projection? I just get started and I don't even know who's gonna give me money yet. Don't worry. They don't hold you to it. They just want to make sure you actually thought through it. Any other questions? Any other comments or anything? I hope that this presentation was helpful. Was it helpful to you? Did I cover some good information? You feel like it was worth your money? Thank you. Y'all know I'm gonna get. Look, you can. What they say, you can under promise and over deliver. That's me. So many of you that are on the webinar, I have not been able to begin working with you one-on-one, and I look forward to the day to be able to do that. Just let me know. Oh, and it says, should we be concerned about sharing ideas and other people with connections and resources with the hope that they're going to run with our dreams? Let me tell you this. Nobody can do what you do how you do it. The vision that was given to you is your vision and your vision alone. If anybody tries to recreate that, it's going to fail. It's going to fail. So I say that, but I also want you to be cautious around who you share information with. If it's someone who you trust, if it's someone who you want to get involved in the organization in some way, shape, or form, share your vision. You don't have to share every single last thing about it, but share what you're trying to do, because I'm going to tell you, there isn't a new idea under the sun. I promise you, there is not. What's different is you and what you bring to the table and how you're going to do it and the partnerships that you're going to develop. So do not let fear get in the way of sharing your vision, because you might fail to share your vision with somebody who could have really helped you make a difference. Okay? Don't be scared. They can't do it like you. They could try. They can't do it. All right? Any other thoughts? Trials, tribulations? Need any kind of advice? See, look at that. I got y'all off in off of this in 2 hours. That's not bad, huh? So the free webinar, or the webinar, isn't free, but it is $56 for you because you're on this one. So if you go on the website, you can go under the work tab, my work tab, and then there's a whole tab there for the network marketing for nonprofit webinar, and it'll take you directly to the Eventbrite there. Make sure you use the promo code SEEDIT, SEEDIT, all one word, all caps, so that it's only $56 for you. Okay. Reach out to me because I'm here. We're going to help you bring your nonprofit vision to life. It's not as crazy as it seems. You just need a little hand holding, and that's all right.